Kid-friendly climate tales. Grampy the garden gnome stops boiling oceans. Once upon a time, there were 3 garden gnomes, Lumpy, Bumpy, and Grampy. They lived in an abandoned rabbit warren deep under the earth of the bluebell forest in the backyard of a little child's house. When no one was about, the garden gnomes would come out to tend the flowers. 2 children came to the garden, a girl and a boy. They liked to watch as the garden gnomes worked away to make the garden grow. The children used to chase each other around the trees and then play hide and seek in the bluebell forest. But these days, the garden gnomes had noticed that when the children arrived, even when they brought a picnic basket, they seemed to freeze, as if afraid of something. "How come the children don't play in the garden anymore?" asked Lumpy. "Maybe they're afraid of something," said Bumpy. "Why wonder?" said Grampy. "Let's ask them." "Excuse me," said Bumpy, "why don't you play in the garden anymore? You just sit there as if you're afraid of something." "I remember you," said the little girl. "You are the garden gnomes we met last summer when you were working in this garden." "Shh," said Lumpy. "No one's supposed to see us working. We're just supposed to look like little statues to grown-ups." "He's right," said Grampy, "but lately you are looking like us, like statues." Lumpy said, "I remember how much you loved to play in the bluebell forest. Now you haven't even unpacked your picnic basket." There was a silence. "We're scared," said the little girl. "Of what?" asked Bumpy. "Of the end of the world," said the little boy. "Oh dear," said Grampy, "that's such a long, long time away, 1,000,000,000 years or more. What makes you fear it now?" "At school, they read us storms for my grandchildren, and they said because of humans, the earth would get too hot and the oceans are going to boil," said the little girl. "And the ice would all melt, and the polar bears would drown," said the little boy. "And the earth would be a desert, and it was all our parents' fault." There was a shocked silence from the garden gnomes. "Oh dear," said Grampy. "I'm guessing you've been listening to Greta Thunberg." "Yes, and she even said, 'Our house is on fire,'" said the little girl. "Is it?" asked Grampy. He hopped over to the garden thermometer. "Well, looks like it's about the same temperature today that we've had for the past 50 years on this day," he said. "Well, how would you know?" demanded the little girl. "It's my job," said Grampy. "I'm an earth scientist, a geologist, so I track and follow all these details, all 4.5 billion years of them." But Greta said," started the little boy. "Oh dear, I know what she said, but she's just a child. Well, a young adult now, but she's not a scientist like me." But Greta's famous." "Oh, so is that actress Jane Fonda and that actor Leo DiCaprio, but that doesn't make them scientists. Being famous is not a scientific qualification." The little girl said, "But everyone says she's right. Our house is burning down." "Yeah," said the little boy. "I'm scared. I'm so scared that sometimes I don't know what to do. I freeze up with fear." "Well, what are you afraid of?" asked Grampy. "Tomorrow," shouted the 2 kids. "The end of the world," said the little girl. "The boiling oceans," said the little boy. There was some silence. The garden gnomes looked at each other, then back at the kids, then up at the sky, then down at the ground. Then Grampy said, "Have you ever made a mistake?" The little girl and the little boy were puzzled. "Yeah," they said in unison. "What's that got to do with the end of the world?" asked the little girl. "Well, what if I told you the scientist who wrote that book was wrong?" said Grampy. "You are a denier," said the little boy. No, said Grampy. "I'm a researcher. The fellow who wrote that book admitted his mistake. He said it himself in a chapter of his new book. He said that in his book, Storms, the alien visitors to Earth find a lifeless planet and witness boiling tropical oceans. That is not possible on a 500-year time scale. He said that sentence should be taken out of the book. Now, it's true that in 1 billion years or so, our sun will go poof, like other stars have done, and the Earth will be in trouble, but that won't be your fault, or yours. So, that man made a mistaken prediction that scared you. And look at this, his prediction was only off by 999,999,500 years. There was silence for a moment. Then the garden gnomes started laughing. You know, once upon a time at school, they used to tell children stories of the wonder of nature and all of its beauty, not to scare you, but to inspire you and fill you with joy. Once upon a time, people told children this: you are a miracle, each of you, living in a miraculous world. I hope you remember that. You are a much-loved miracle. And forget those fearmongers making multi-million-year mistakes. Yes, said Lumpy, we must celebrate life with joy, careful curiosity, and courage, and leave fear behind us. Be happy like these bumblebees, said Bumpy. One of my favorite things to do is to just sit and watch them buzzing about. Just then, the door opened, and the little child that lived in the house by the bluebell forest came out to play. Everyone froze like statues. The little child brought a beautiful woman who danced with a bluebird on her hand, followed by a small parade of funny forest creatures, and the little child sang and danced the toys across the yard.